Welcome back after a short break. ఇప్పుడు మనం CCF and latest version అయిన Mark 21 గురించి తెలుసుకుందాం. So what is CCF?
Okay, CCF is precisely common communication format. Okay, what really happened is after Library of Congress, which has really brought out a MARC format in 1968, several countries found its importance and they really designed their own MARC formats in different countries. Like you can say UK MARC has come. First one MARC we can all call it as either LC MARC or US MARC. Okay. Followed by that UK also observed that, oh yes, LC MARC is really going to be an advantageous thing unlike the traditional methods, and we should also have a MARC format. They devised their own MARC format. That means Library of Congress US MARC is something slightly different from the US MARC. But one important aspect what we have to really understand here is all the MARC formats are communication formats. They are basically meant for exchanging of information. They are basically meant for exchanging of bibliographic information. That is very core of it, core essence of it. But what really happened, once the Library of Congress brought out a one MARC format to be called as US MARC or what it may be, then the UK also brought another MARC format. Similarly, different countries, Japanese MARC, Korean MARC, then Iceland MARC, and then Indian MARC. Indian MARC is IS 11370. That's number, that's standard number, what we really call. So like that, Korean MARC, Japanese MARC, Canadian MARC, like that, we have got about 30 countries have come out with their own different MARC formats. Now, what really happened is the basic purpose of communicating information is defeated. So then what really happened, no one can really dictate or tell any other country that you should really follow X format, ignoring their own format. It's none of our job. We can't really say it. Okay. Then what really happened, these many multiple MARC formats have created rather more inconvenience than the convenience. We want that it should really facilitate and create some convenience for sharing of information. But these variations, differences has really led to the inconvenience. So this has to be really overcome. So how to overcome these the differences between the MARC formats? Now what was really felt that common communication really could be a kind of solution to overcome the problem. Okay, when we are talking about problem many times, what is the problem? I think we have to also try to understand that. What really happened is some MARC formats, they have got more number of data fields information are there in that. Some MARC formats, as I told you, MARC is essentially a method of content designation, coding of the content. Author is a content, title is a content. So you have coded author as 100, I have coded in my MARC format 200 author. So how we have really fixed the information, it has really been varying now. Okay, like that what really happened, now the content designation is varying. It is different from one MARC to another MARC. This is the greatest problem. Then some MARC formats of their native specific country, depending on the requirement, they have got a small number of data fields are there in the MARC format. And some other countries like India, etc., what we can say, because we have multiple languages, etc., there are many other issues are there, we have more number of data fields are there. Depending on our requirements, we devise our own MARC format. Nothing wrong in that. But the issue is that there is a variation. Some are having more number of data fields, some are having less number of data fields. Apart from that, the another very most important aspect is that now the content designation is different. So then I think combining, aligning, merging different the records generated from different the MARC standards has become difficult. Now in that case what happened, as I told you, about 30 MARC formats have really come into existence. Then this common communication format with the initiation of the UNESCO, this CCF was really brought out. Now what they really said is, now before the CCF, one instance we have to really talk about is, CCF basic purpose is that they really wanted to have, there should be a one single common format for all the purposes what have been really performed by the different libraries, document centers, information centers, maybe even archives or something, etc., etc. Okay. Now, for all the purposes, there should be one single structure only, there cannot be multiple structures. When I say multiple structures, apart from the individual mark formats of different countries, in between there were some kind of exchange formats also have evolved. Exchanging means I have to exchange my records data with some X kind of, the database or data of the of different mark format. Like I am having, say for example, LC mark format, somebody is really having UK mark, somebody is having Canadian mark format is there. Now when we really want to exchange it, how the exchange can take place, because there is a variation is there. The variation is basically predominantly the content designation variation. Okay, of course, the number of fields is different aspect slightly. So whatever the core, probably we can take it up, but this content designation is coming as a hurdle. Like then what really happened is the librarians, when they really wanted to integrate them, they have to really write a program that in X particular kind of mark format, what I am really trying to merge with my record, their 100 is equal to my 200, so my 200 is equal to their 300, etc. We have to really try to really write a program before the data available in a different mark format is to be really amalgamated, integrated into my mark format. It's a really difficult job on the part of the librarians, because librarians are not software people, they are not programmers, they can't do it. And you can't also expect that they should really be conversant with writing the programs and then changing the data in order to fit into their own existing database or records. Like so, what really happened? The IFLA, as I am mentioning, it has really brought out one particular international exchange format. It really wanted to talk about it as a super mark. There are national level mark formats are there. It really wanted to emerge as a super mark. That is, it's a super bigger one, a better mark than any other mark. That's what the exact idea. It was really, it came up as a unimark. It emerged as a unimark. That is universal mark. When I really say unimark is universal mark, that's a bigger mark. These are all national marks. So US is a national mark format. Okay, UK mark format, UK mark is a national mark format. CAN mark, Canadian mark is a national mark. So this is a universal mark format. They really want it. But what they really did is, they have really prepared an exchange format in the Unimark only for the bibliographies and catalogs. When somebody they want to really exchange the bibliographies information and the catalog information of one library with another library, they really devised a kind of exchange format. That's one aspect. Then that's not an end there. Now somebody is a kind of, besides libraries, we have documentation centers are there, who are really dealing with something, what I can tell you, indexing and abstracting services and products are there. Now the indexing and abstracting products are there, the kind of structure of the information, etc., is something different from the library catalogs and bibliographies. So for that, another thing what really happened is UNESCO brought out one standard called UNICIST reference manual. UNICIST reference manual. This is for the documentation centers. Like for libraries and catalogs and bibliographies, you have got Unimark. For documentation centers, you have got UNICIST reference manual. Similarly, there are something to be called as, what we can say is serials directories are there. Okay, serials directories are there. So in the serials directories, so in the serials directories, what is happening is, okay, what is happening is, they have devised another standard to be called as ISDS manual. So there are both national mark formats are there. There are something to be called as a higher level super marks, what we can really say is Unimark and UNICIST reference manual, ISDS manual, etc. were also there. Okay. Now these many formats, these many forms, they have been really creating confusion to the librarians. So a particular library people who are involved in library catalogs, bibliographies, document centers, having some kind of preparing some directives of periodicals and serials, etc., they have to learn all these exchange formats, which is a difficult job. Therefore, UNESCO felt that there should not be so many things. There can be one single format which can really explain that. So for that, in what we can really say is UNESCO has really organized one particular international symposium. That's what we really say is International Symposium on Bibliography Exchange Formats. That was attended by many experts in the field, but this is really been organized co-jointly by different organizations. What we can really say is UNIBID, when I say Unicist International Center for Bibliographic Description, what we call it. Then of course ICSUAB, when I say ICSU, International Council for Scientific Unions Abstracting Board, I think that one. Then IFLA, then of course ISRO. I think these are all the major agencies and organizations. They all have come forward to really design a common communication format to overcome the problem of both the exchange formats as well as the national mark formats. I think these many have really created more kind of problem for the librarians in integrating the data like. So that is what the roots and origins of the UNESCO like. So UNESCO PGI, that is General Information Program, normally we call PGI means. So it really wanted to have a kind of thing, and in that particular International Symposium on Exchange Formats, and that was in 1978. Okay, now they have really formulated an ad hoc committee with a kind of specific purpose like, now there should be one single format for all purposes. Maybe it could be a library, it could be a document center, it could be a kind of directory kind of information, it could be something else, etc. There can be purposes can be different. Let us not have multiple formats. There can be one single format could be there, and that particular format could be the common communication format, and that format should really follow the ISO 2709 as its structure. Why like that? ISO 2709 means all the mark formats were hence till now have been really following the structure of all the mark formats is same, that is decided by the ISO 2709. That was exactly what we can really say is ISO 2709 has really been formulated based on the first mark of the US. What was there in US mark has really given rise to ISO 2709, and all other mark formats started using only ISO 2709. It's an international standard. That's the reason. Like, then what they really said, this CCF will be only common format for all types of material for all types of purposes. It's a single structure, single format. No need to think about different exchange formats or etc. etc. Okay. Of course, in this context, another important aspect to be really remembered here is that let the different countries which have been really having their own national mark formats, they continues to retain them as they are. Yet there can be a kind of exchange format, a common exchange format. That is what CCF is supposed to be. So we are not disturbing the existing mark formats or mark that has been really followed by different countries. So our style is that let those marks can be there, mark format can be really followed as they have been following all these years, can be continued, but there can be a kind of, when you really want to exchange your data with somebody else, you have to really come in line with the common communication format. That's one thing. So this format is, as I told, it will strictly adhere to the ISO 2709 as its structure. Now this common communication format, what it also will really do is, it will have a kind of core mandatory compulsory fields in the structure. So as I said earlier, now one mark format is having more number of data fields, another mark is having small number of data fields. It doesn't matter. Now what it really wants to do is, CCF has identified from all the mark formats, national mark formats and exchange formats also, and it could really make out a list of what are the fields which are commonly available in all the mark formats. Now it has really decided that they are the mandatory fields, compulsory fields to be used by any kind of bibliographic agency or library or institution in their bibliographic records invariably without fail. That was the stance. Okay. That means to say that CCF contains a small limited number of core mandatory fields in it. Okay. Then it is supplemented, augmented by, supported by a large number of optional fields are there. That's what mark format. If somebody really wants to have additional fields also, they can pick up from the these optional fields which are exhaustively given. Mandatory, core, small number of fields. Exhaustively, large number of optional fields are really given to us. Then what also they really thought is, now there can be a kind of mechanism that these the records, the records which are the documents which are related documents can always be really linked. A kind of linking mechanism also it has really developed, like a standard technique which can really help us in fixing the levels and relationships and links between the different elements. Say for example, if it is a conference volume as a one particular document. Now this particular conference volume has got 21 articles are there written by 21 people. Now you can really take one particular smaller article contained in the particular conference volume. This conference volume has these 21. One of these articles, when you are really also trying to prepare a bibliographic record or entry, this can be linked to the host document, that is the conference volume. So like that, levels are there. It's a bigger document, it's a small document. Bigger document, I think host document, and it contains a smaller document. A small chapter contains a document. So this chapter is part of the document. So this kind of links can be always be devised. That's the kind of technique they really have it in the like that. Okay, then what really happened is the first CCF, first edition of the CCF, it was really published in 1984. Now this is to be, so in place of having, say for example, UNISYST reference manual, at the same time Unimark, ISDS manual, etc. I think all these things now not required. You can really think about only one particular mark, that is what we can really say is CCF, Common Communication Format. When I really talking about CCF, there are two dimensions are there. One is, if a particular country doesn't have a mark standard of its own, it can really think about CCF as, they can adopt this particular CCF as their native mark format. If they have got a kind of mark format of their own particular country, now this can be used as an exchange format. This is what the CCF was really thought of. Now then this CCF was really used up to, I can tell you, I think in the 90s, 92, 94, etc. This was really used very well. But I mean to say that in 1984 first was brought out. So it was revised in after 4 years, 1988. It was further third edition. It was really revised in 1992. I think that was the end of the mark format CCF, and it could not really advance beyond that. Therefore, there were issues, some problems have really come. Okay. Now, one thing, when you really want to have what is exactly the basic, the essential purpose of the CCF is, it really would like to permit the exchange of the bibliographic records between groups of libraries and also abstracting indexing agencies. Like as I told you, abstracting indexing agencies, that what exactly they do, documentation work. Their records are something different. Bibliographies and then catalogs which are really prepared by the library, they have some difference. Like now this will permit exchange of things among any of these things, like okay. Now at the same time, now it permits the bibliography agency to use a single set of computer program to manipulate the bibliography. This is one essential component to be understood. Like the issue is here, when there are 10 mark formats are there. When I as a library want to take from these 10 libraries information, I have to write 10 different programs to merge the data what I am taking from A, B, C, D, E, F libraries. Now here in this case, when we talk about exchange format, there is no need that. I think only need is that you need to have a one single program converting your data into the exchange format. And you need to have another single program to take that particular the exchange format data, convert it into your own format. I mean to say, once again I will tell you, I have a mark format. When I am really sending to outside world, I have to change it in the CCF style and send it, one single set of programs. When anybody is really sending, they have to really convert their data into that. When the data is available in CCF style, I think you are simply able to really merge with your own work. Like so, this is what the basic essence of the CCF. And then of course, coming back to the CCF record structure, as I told you, for all the mark formats, the record structure is decided by the ISO 2709. Therefore, CCF also being a mark format, Okay, it also follows ISO 2709. As I told in the structure, I think these elements are common. In the structure, I said record label or header, etc. I said the same record label will be there. The directory of each and every field information is also same. There will be data fields, actual data, and end of the record or the record segment. So this structure is going to be same. Because let us not really create inconvenience for those people who have been really already using a MARC format in order to continue it. We don't want to really have a kind of altogether different structure and create again a fresh kind of activity for the libraries to follow. This has been really decided by the CCF that CCF also, like all other MARC formats, all other exchange formats, it also follows the ISO 2709 only as its structure.
Okay. So what is the need for CCF?
Yeah. Now this, what really the basic, this is really an important thing that we can really understand. Librarians and information managers, they have really been constrained to integrate the records generated from different sources, from different MARC formats. Now this problem is overcome now, and this was really basically the primary objective of the CCF. Let the librarians need not to really learn many MARC formats. Let the librarians need not to really learn something how to really convert the data that is really coming from different sources in order to really integrate that data with your existing databases. That's an idea. So here what they really said is, so CCF overcomes the problem of writing a kind of different kinds of programs to integrate it, except one single set of instructions to convert our data into the exchange format style and taking the exchange format data into our own. Everybody is really giving in the CCF style. I think with one set of instructions you are taking it, and you are also giving the data for outside world for any other MARC format people only in the CCF style. Therefore, they with one set of instructions they can. So n number of MARC format let there can be there. Everybody can maintain their own format, but this is another important aspect. What I really want to tell you is, now earlier there were exchange formats like CCF for one purpose. One purpose is for library catalogs, one purpose is for the bibliographies, one purpose is for directory preparation, one purpose is for some documentation activities like indexing and abstracts and so on. Now for all the purposes, CCF is really going to fulfill with one particular format. One format fulfilling all the purposes. One format fulfilling, it's giving as a common structure for all others to really follow it, either while exchanging it or while sending it or receiving information like. So this is how it's a one-shot method, so that anybody can really follow it. It has been really, because behind this ISO is there, behind this IFLA is there, behind this ICSU AB is there. So there are many international organizations, including ISO, including IFLA, who have been really devising new standards. They are part and parcel of this UNESCO. That's the strength of the CCF, and in the entire world all the countries started using CCF. But of course, it has got some drawbacks, because it could not really go for the revision with the changing times. That's the drawback.
Okay. So how CCF is different from MARC?
Yeah. Now MARC normally is okay. The MARC is normally it is limiting to a particular country's requirements. Now CCF is really going to be an all exhaustive common structure, common standard. Okay, and this also having another advantage is that it really wanted to show or link the interrelated concepts also. Like I just now told you, a particular chapter in a particular book can be really chapter you are cataloging, and that can be really linked to the host book. One particular article in a particular document you are linking to the host book like. Then it similarly related concepts also can be. Say for example, there are manifestations of the books are there. Originally, say for a particular book has really appeared in the form of a prose or poetry. It has got in the prose form, somebody has really brought out. Okay, Macbeth is there, Shakespeare's. The tragedy of Macbeth has come as a fiction novel. Otherwise, Macbeth is a kind of drama. Okay, the drama version of the document has really appeared in a different manifestation called in a novel form, fiction form. So the core of the tragedy of Macbeth, which is appearing in the fiction form, the core what is there in the Macbeth as a whole original document, the essence is same, but appearing in a different manifestation. One is as a prose form, other poetry form, other one is a fiction form, etc., etc. So this kind of linking mechanism is available now. So this linking structure is another exclusive feature that is really available with the CCF. Otherwise, structure is same, and then other elements are also really same. But CCF has its own content designation symbols are always there. This is what about CCF. Okay.
Okay. So now what is Mark 21?
Yeah, I think we'll come to that now. Okay. Mark 21 is Mark 21 is it is the people really call it as the 21st century mark. Okay. It's not 21st version. It is only 21st century mark. That's what people really call it as Mark 21. Now, when CCF when CCF was not able to cope up with the changing times, the information requirements of the people. Yeah. Oh goodness. Okay. When next file. Just try to next file.
Yeah, you please continue.
Yeah. So Mark 21 is the latest one in the mark field. It's the latest one in the family of the mark. See anything here? I can't see now.
Okay, right. After a short
Yeah.
break, we will continue the discussion.
Okay. Okay.
So please, can you please explain about Mark 21 something?
Yeah. So, as I said, Mark 21 is the latest mark in the mark family. It is already, it is from time to time, it is a kind of updating to cope up with the real requirements. Cope up with the real requirements. The requirements are nothing but, now after, essentially after 80s and 90s, a lot of electronic information resources are really coming into the field, publishing field. So the CCF could not really try to update to accommodate those elements, the changing trends. Electronic publishing has become a kind of trend in these days. So how to really cope up with the electronic information resources was missing in CCF.
Okay.
But that kind of things have really come up in Mark 21. Okay. The other important thing what really happened is how the Mark 21 has appeared is these two countries like United States of America and also Canada, they have their own mark formats.
Okay.
One is CAN mark, that is Canadian mark. US mark is US mark. So they said there is no need, we can really integrate two mark formats and we can really try to really advance better and to really result in that. So it's a kind of Mark 21 is nothing but it's a harmonization, integration of two mark formats of two different countries. One is Canadian mark and also the Australian mark. So this has really resulted to come out as a Mark 21, and then of course the essentially it is really able to accommodate the multimedia, electronic resources and other kinds of audiovisual material are really been the how to really catalog or how to really describe them, etc. That has really been essential important area which was really missing with the CCF, and that has been really taken care because CCF could not really advance after 1992. That was the problem. So in 1990s, maybe in mid 1990s, this Mark 21 has really emerged, 96 and so on, something like that. Okay. So it is really another important thing what we can really say is Mark 21 is not an altogether different mark structure. It is also a mark structure like other mark formats. But it's exactly what we can, it's not a leap or jump into a new mark. It's only a kind of continuation, switching over from one to other, so that people can really follow it. That's an idea. So Mark 21 is a continuation of advancements from this CCF or other mark formats. This is one advantage. Okay. The second important aspect what we can really say is now most of the hardware and software companies are really coming from US essentially, and most of the kind of the countries they have been following Mark 21 in creating their own databases. So naturally what really happened is everybody in the world in order to really take the benefits of these ongoing changes, when everybody is really following Mark 21, I think we also have to follow Mark 21. I can illustrate you one example, like Library of Congress, anybody can really access to get the data. When I am really preparing my own bibliographic database, my own catalog information, what I really do is I go to Library of Congress. Instead of I really again doing the kind of preparing a separate record, what I really do is I can really copy from the Library of Congress catalog data, and then that data I really use in for my own. Instead of really preparing freshly a bibliographic description for data for my own records, so my own books, if the same book is already available in Library of Congress, I can download the data from there and I can use it here. This is what normally what we really call it as copy cataloging. We call copy catalog. Why it is happening? They are following Mark 21, therefore I am also following Mark. I can really copy and then make use of the the kind of the information as it is. So this is the kind of advantage. No. Yeah, next. So this is what exactly happening is. The advantage of Mark 21, like most of the kind of the libraries in advanced countries like US, etc., they have been following Mark 21. And for us also, we are really using these advanced countries or advanced kind of institutions databases. We can also easily access and we can also really get the data from there and we can really use it with us. Like maybe you talk about OCLC, you talk about Library of Congress and other institutions. When they are using Mark 21, actually we also have to really use it because it is really coping up with the latest developments and advancements in the publishing trend, like electronic information resources and audiovisual material, etc., etc. This is very strong in that. I can tell you one important aspect also. It has got an exclusive field is there called 856. 856 is the field. Yes, this is the field which is really going to help to describe our own electronic information resources, electronic information like. Okay, so this is an advantage of the Mark 21 like. So if you really want to talk about Mark 21, it's the same thing. It's also a similar kind of mark, which is it's a kind of, I said it's a distinct set of content designators and to prescribe in this in a systematic way in order to recognize the data fields, etc. That's happening. Okay. So this is same as any other mark like. Okay. I was initially also talking about, say, it's a kind of mark is a format. You really going to use only content designation. That is what it's a criteria by which you will be able to recognize the records contained in the document. Like, okay, this is what really when is asked what is really Mark 21. It's a new name that is given to the harmonized Canadian mark and US mark. It's a harmonized mark. It's not a totally a different mark. Okay, it's a result of the activity that is undertaken by merging these two mark formats. Like. So it's a continuation of the mark. It's not totally a deviation from earlier marks. Okay, nothing is not a fresh, newly designed mark. No, it's not that. It's a kind of continuation from the already existing mark format. Like, okay. As I told you, the structure is always going to be same in all mark format, like any US mark or Canadian mark or Indian mark or CCF or for that matter Institute Reference Manual. You talk anything, all the mark formats are structure is going to be same, that is ISO 2709, therefore same thing. Same also they came, every mark like any other mark, it also has got a structure, similar structure, same content designation is there, okay, same again everything like other thing also you have got a content is there, actual data proper, actual information about the document, etc. Okay. Now as I said, now this is the actual implementation of the ISO 2709, which was initially brought out as ANSI NISO Z39.2. When I say this ANSI NISO, American National Standards Institutes, National Information Standards Organization, that's what exactly the standards issuing agency in US. We have got our Indian standards are really brought out by Bureau of Indian Standards now, isn't it? So similarly, so this ANSI NISO Z39.2 is nothing but this was the initial US mark structure that has really been given out as ISO 2709, which is really being used by all other mark formats. Same is the case by the Mark 21. Okay. Then of course I was really talking about in that structure, same similar structure only like any other thing. I said there shall be a leader or a label or a header. I said it's 24 characters space is there. It is to identify the actual document. Then of course there is going to be a kind of what you can really say is there shall be a directory which is really going to be have actually it is 14 characters 12 plus 2. Okay. Then of course you can have the so many fields can be there. Those fields are variable data fields, because every field may have its own length. Therefore, we call them variable fields. Say for example, let me say when you really want to talk about a particular year, I think 4 character space is sufficient for us, isn't it? But when you really talk about a particular author name or title of the book, etc., it varies. It's not unique. It's not standardized. One particular, as I said, one particular person's name can be only 3 letters. Another person's name can be 35 letters. One particular document name could be always maybe 5 characters required. When we really introduction to the theory and practice of accountancy, probably it requires maybe 30, 20 characters. So these all varying. So therefore, so apart from the kind of the leader or label or directory, now this mark 21 or any other mark format naturally will contain variable number of data character fields will be always there. Okay. Now in this what really happening is the last variable field record end could be used by this kind of equal symbol, that hash symbol will be really used here to say that it's an end of it. This is the structure how it is really been done in the mark format. So there is a tag will be there, first 3 digits, followed by that the length of the particular field. It requires 3 digits or 4 digits or 10 digits, I think you are indicating. Then followed by that where it is starting, okay, in the record directory. So this kind of information always will be there. Okay. Now this is what 245 is the title. Okay. 0, 1 are they are the delimiters. Okay, it has their meanings are there. Then actually, so that 0, 1. Then 9, 9 is nothing but this is exactly the space what is really required, starting place. No, so this is the starting place in the record 9, 9. Then of course 990. Then of course 0, 1. It requires 175 character space. So I think that's what exactly is. The 3 digits indicate the tag number, first 3, 245. The next 4 digits, like what is 0, 1, 9, 9, it indicates that now this field requires 199 character space, and then the next 5 digits are really going to indicate the beginning character position, like. So where it is really starting in the, so this kind of data is really been maintained in the directory of the record, which is part of the structure of the mark record, which is part of the structure of the mark 21. Okay, this is something about it. Okay. Then of course there are subfields are indicated, as I told you. There can be a title, subtitle, okay, parallel title, then of course statement of responsibility. These are all the different sections in the one particular area, subsections. So all these sections, subsections can be say for example here the subfield. Let me say for example author name is there, author surname, forename, year of birth, etc. These are all the 3 different subdivisions. They are indicated by a dollar symbol. Subdivisions are indicated. They are identified, indicated by the subdivisions, like this kind of dollar symbol. Okay, this is what. Okay. Then of course this is an example is there. 100, 10 $A. So 100 is author in mark 21. But when you talk about CCF, 300 is author. I think that's different. We are not going to bother about it. Okay. Then of course 1 is exactly is a principal author. That means when you are preparing even the cards, etc., you want to print out the catalog entries. That is really going to help us. He is the main entry person. If this person is the principal author, therefore on this particular person's name, the main entry heading has to really come. Okay. Then that 0 is, I think that particular other indicator is not there, ignored. Then dollar means the subfield A is, that is surname Asimov. Then of course next is $D is date of birth of the author. So this $D and $A are the subfields. Within 100, 100 is the author. This is how the information is really recorded in the fields, like. Okay. Then of course the blank space has no meaning. This is what I was mentioning about it. Right. Another important is, I think this is, I said it's an advanced kind of mark format is mark 21. It has got 5 mark formats are there in that. One particular mark format has got 5 independent integrated mark formats are in that. The first one is the format for bibliographic data. This is the core normally we will be having. Another mark format within the mark 21 is what we can, it is a holdings data, what information available in that. Okay. Then of course mark 21 is for the authority data. And authority, like how to write authoritatively a particular author's name. What is the authority, the kind of controlled vocabulary, standard name terms of the particular subject, etc. That's authority data. Then another mark format what is there in the Mark 21 is a format for classification data, information about classification. The next one is of course the format for community information data. So like that we have got 5 integrated set of formats are available well within the Mark 21. Okay. Now these are all exactly the contents of the most data elements is defined by the standards. Outside the formats, like it will support all these things like Anglo-American cataloging rules, like etc. it supports. Okay. This is what. Then yes, ma'am.
Yeah, how Mark is different from other formats like Mark as well as
Mark 21.
CCF.
Yeah, Mark. CCF was an exchange format. Honestly, it was really been used to make it as a single common format to be used for all purposes by all agencies. Okay. So in that what was required is you naturally need to have at least one single set of instructions have to be really devised to convert the data what is being received or what is being sent to others like. Now here that situation doesn't arise because Mark 21 is almost a kind of exhaustive mark format, and this is really being followed by almost all the countries over the world, and therefore I think there is no question of again that kind of writing any programs or conversion etc. doesn't really occur in that. This is the today's mark format being followed by almost all the countries in the world, including India. Okay. So therefore it is an advanced mark format. It's an advanced one in the entire family of the mark. It's also going to really cover a lot many aspects as far as the changing publishing trends are really taken care by the Mark 21. Like as I was mentioning, what is that is exactly the trend is now publishing in electronic information resources, web documents, information resources. So that is really been catered to and taken care by the Mark 21. That's an essential feature. It's a more comprehensive, a better mark format than any other mark format so far has really come into picture, and it is being used by many others. And since we also really fall in line, we can reap the benefits of the others databases and catalogs. Simply we can really download, and then we can really integrate with our records, and we can make a better files, integrated or exhaustive files, etc. The alignment, integration, sharing of the data is really going to be possible now, but it was not there earlier. When it is even CCF style or with the other mark formats, it was slightly a kind of obstacles were there, problems were there. Now it is really no more available in this kind of things. So the kind of what we really want to say, the marketplace of the library systems and software is increasingly, everybody is really moving to Mark 21, especially in the universities and research libraries. Therefore, we too are really going to that. Okay. So most of the library systems in US based companies are using Mark 21. And they have got a better database etc. are there. Since you use it, and you will really get the benefit out of that. That's exactly an idea. Then of course the ability to download and derive the bibliograph records from the wide range source is easy for us now. Okay. As I mentioned just now, the OCLC bibliography, same book you don't need to really prepare a kind of bibliographic catalog record. The data is available there, already been created. You just download it, and then you give your own access and number etc., and you can really use in your own files. This is possible. That's what exactly I was mentioning about the copy cataloging etc. is very possible. If you have got access to OCLC, fine. I think it's not. If you are really going to access information from the LOC, Library of Congress, also, it's really fine. You can take it and then use for your. You don't need to again strain yourself, redo the job and creating catalog. You don't need to create. Like for this, you have to really fill this data etc. Take the data, and you can amalgamate or integrate with. And that's exactly the advantage. How it is different means this is the advantage.
Okay. So relative advantages like of Mark 21.
Yeah.
So compared to other formats.
Yes. Now I just mentioning, every national mark was a standalone mark. CCF was something different. So CCF, it really wants to stand as a kind of common framework that can really exist between the mark formats. When you have to exchange information to me, you have to convert your data and put in the exchange style. This can be borrowed by any number of people, any mark format people, isn't it? When I am sending, I have really sending in one single set into the fixing into the kind of common structure. That can be really borrowed by any number of people without much inconvenience, only with one single instructions. Otherwise, earlier what really happened, when anyone has to really borrow a data, I think I have to convert their data into my particular thing. X again change, Y again I have to change, Z I have to change. Now no need. Okay. Now that has really been, since CCF use has really been declined because of the demerits of that. Demerit is that it could not really advance by creating all the provisions with the changing trend of publishing. So then what really happened? Mark 21 has come into existence, coping up with all those things, essentially coping with the electronic information resources. So therefore Mark 21 stands as a better scheme, better method, and therefore people are really using it like.
Okay, so let's conclude the topic within 2 or 3 lines about CCF and at the same time Mark 21, the latest version.
Yes. So honestly, CCF supposed to be a kind of international standard exchange format, expected to really serve all the needs of all the information, the managers, like, creating bibliographies, creating catalogs, creating documentation lists, creating directories, and so on, all the activities like. That was a kind of, instead of having multiple formats and struggling with that, CCF was really being looked after as a single structure and facilitating the librarians to cope up with all sorts of activities. Yes, it did happen for quite long. But really what happened, since the CCF could not really get updated with the changing trends, that has really, since this could not really advance, then naturally what really happened, Mark 21 necessity has really arose and it has really come up. Okay. Now honestly, if you really want to sum it up, so our library catalogs were using different standards in the past, the manual catalogs like. So there were no international standards like, every country has their own standard way. Every library was using different catalog codes, like let's say for example, somebody was using AA code, Anglo-American code, somebody was using ALA code, somebody was using ASCR, this kind of things were there. So then what really happened is, our purpose is, we should be able to really exchange our bibliographic data or records between or among institutions. That was not really been made possible. So then of course the situation came into, why can't there be a kind of international standard bibliographic description so that everybody really will follow it, so that the exchanging of information is really going to be convenient. Actually, as I was mentioning about it, in all the records there are 2 components were there. One component is about the access points and headings, other component is really going to be something about the description like. Honestly, before coming up of the ISBDs, there were also a standard rules were there for international standard rules were there for preparing access points. That was what we normally call it as ICCP rules, International Cataloging of Cataloging Experts, which people normally call it as Paris Principles. That was really brought out in 1961. But whereas ISBDs came in 1974. Okay. So in the bibliographic record, when we have 2 components, one component has already came out with international standards, ICCP rules, Paris Principles. Then it has said, when we have one component, international standard is there, but for the second component we don't have. Can't we really have a standard? That has really gave a kind of resulted in designing international standard bibliographic description, and that was really been initiated and taken care by the IFLA, International Federation of Library Association, which has been really contributing a lot. It is normally called as, IFLA is called as the mouthpiece of the international librarianship. What is the voice of the librarians, the problems of the librarians. It is also a kind of standards creating organization, IFLA. Like UNESCO or like ISO, it's also really creating kind of standards like. So that is how the ISBDs have come into picture, and then ISBDs also, there are multiple ISBDs came. ISBD A for antique, ISBD for NBM non-book material, ISBD for cartograph material, ISBD for computer files, so like that, ISBD for monographs, for ISBD for serials, and this kind of things have come. Ultimately, now one ISBD, one standard ISBD, what we can, ISBD G has come up. So here one important point is to be understood. ISBD G is General International Standard Bibliographic Description. Now its purpose is honestly different. The purpose is that if somebody really wants to create a new ISBD for a new type of material, ISBD G structure is to be followed. That was the basic idea. But what exactly resulted in the practical aspect for us is that, ISBD G is the general standard that can be followed for any other type of material if you don't have a specific ISBD for a specific type of material. That was really emerged. Okay. We also have an ISBD standard is there, how to really use ISBDs. Okay. That is one thing. Then these are all the manual issues, like people felt that, how best we should be able to really see that we can really make our catalogs very highly useful and efficient tools. Then of course people's perception has really changed into automation, that is cataloging using of the mark in automated catalogs like. So this is how the mark format has really started evolving from the Library of Congress. Honestly, this mark format was initially came only to exploit or explore the information resources or the document collections available in the Library of Congress. Since it started working very well after 1968 mark format, many people started, oh yes, even mark format is really doing well. I think we too can really use. That's how so many mark formats have come into picture, and that has really given more confusion and creation of problem. The basic purpose was really defeating in the sense that our purpose was to share the information, exchange information. That was not materializing. Then of course people really felt, oh, this is not correct. Then we need to have some exchange formats. Okay, the exchange formats were UNISYS reference manual, UNESCO Unimark, ISDS manual, etc., etc. And these many things have really created some kind of clumsiness problem. Clumsy in the sense that people have to really cope up with all these structures, formats, and then this is really convenient. Therefore, again UNESCO came forward and then said, I think let us have one single format. These many formats are creating confusion for all the people. I think coping up is really going to be a difficult job. So in order to cope up with them, I think the CCF has come. The single objective is that there can be one single structure, one format for all purposes, for all documents, and all types of material like. So it has really achieved the goal. But all that is, after, it came up in 1984, revised in 88, once again revised in 1992, third edition. The third edition has got another specific feature was there. The feature was that, it is in 2 volumes, 2 parts. The first volume is CCF-B. So for how to create bibliographic records, bibliographic files. Then other one is CCF-F. F is factual like. We can, all these days we are talking about only bibliographic documents, books, their own databases, files, etc., etc. But CCF-F, F is factual database. Now say for example, when you really wanted to maintain a kind of directory of all the equipment that is available in a particular institution, maybe computer systems, maybe kind of, whatever you really want to say. So printers, these, that, all those things, etc. You can really prepare a directory. It's an object, it's not a document. Computer is not a document. Okay, printer is not a document. So for these things, say for example, you have people in your organization. Now for the people you can prepare a database using the CCF-F. So CCF-F was really having this advantage, like it is not only talking about the bibliographic records and their own directories or records and files or database or whatever you really call. Besides that, it is also really having another advantage is that CCF-F is for factual databases, like not necessarily for the bibliographic databases. It has got an advantage. So it flourished. It was really been used by almost all the countries in the world, including India, for quite long. Our influence was really using CCF also. But there are many other things also. But the sad part of it was, I don't know what really happened in between, but they could not really advance in updating with the changing trends. The changing trends, when I really talk about the changing trends of publishing, it was more information resource in the electronic form. Okay, electronic form material, how to really accommodate, the facilities were not there. So therefore, what really happened is, I think the Mark 21 has really emerged with the integration or amalgamation of what we really talk, the Canadian mark and US mark, they really together come and then do it. So now this is stabilized almost in the entire world, and all the countries are really using it like this is what precisely.
Okay. So finally, we really had a great discussion about 4 things today, like ISBD and Mark, at the same time CCF, and Mark 21, the latest version. Thanks for the information, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Yes. So, idi Mana TV special program. Keep watching Mana TV.